Okay, we'll go ahead and get started. So thank you again for joining us for our webinar series. This is the ProLinkHFA webinar that we host monthly. Today we're going to be talking about the insurance functionality that is in ProLinkHFA in our base product. So it's available to our existing ProLinkHFA users right now. And we're looking forward to sharing that with you. We have a few clients using this functionality already. But it's one of those areas that we haven't called a lot of attention to through this webinar series. So we'd like to take the opportunity to do that today. So here's the agenda. We're going to be going over just quickly general information before handing it off to Jim for a live demonstration of the functionality. He's covering a whole bunch of different pieces to this. The insurance module background, insurance entities and carrier rating setup, policy setup, associating policies with portfolio properties, portfolio-wide tracking and reporting, and then tracking premiums and payments. So quite a few different areas. I'm Bree Kreuter. I'm the EVP for ProLink. I oversee our customer success department and our new business development and marketing departments at ProLink. And then Jim Paris is our sales engineer who will be hosting the demo for today. Just quickly, a little bit about ProLink Solutions. If you are new to our webinar series, we have been serving the affordable housing industry for over 25 years at this point. We serve clients across what we call the three pillars of our affordable industry, which is our state and local finance housing agencies, which is our first kind of group of clients that we started with. And since then, we've expanded to also support from a technology perspective, our tax credit syndicators and investors, and even developers and owner agents through the different systems that we provide. And our goal has always been to provide a holistic system. So from that origination kind of conceptual stage of affordable all the way through asset management and compliance. We try to support systems that connect that deal life cycle and then connect all the parties involved through that deal life cycle in an efficient way, in a way that is really symbiotic and kind of helps all parties and eliminates redundancy or any kind of inefficiencies in the information and data that you are tracking. And our team is made up of technologists first, who are very dedicated to our mission, which is helping our clients solve the affordable housing problem in the US. So we've had many technologists who've been with us 10 plus years. We have a lot of longevity and commitment from our staff. And over time, that's developed into quite a robust sort of professional background and expertise around affordable specifically and our clients' needs. We're very much dedicated to this industry. And so we're very proud of that. And I'm very proud to have the team that we do have here at ProLink. So currently we support 19 state housing agencies, so 17 housing finance agencies and 2 supportive services agencies across the United States are using ProLinkHFA currently. There's just a little map view of the states that we do support. Couple other things for those who are new to ProLink. This is just a quick kind of bird's eye view of our system that we offer. It's our kind of technology stack as we refer to it. So we have ProLinkHFA, which is the database tool. So that's the tool that your housing agency, our users are logging into and performing their work all day long. In and out of that system, it's your final source of record for data. And then Procorum works as our front end. So developers, contractors, property managers, really anyone outside of your organization that you're working with, that you're requesting information from, that you're collaborating with, works through Procorum to supply you with that information and communicate with you. And then that information that's then housed in Procorum is easily accessible and can be pushed into ProLinkHFA, which is that database system. Again, that final source of record keeping for the agency. We have a tool called Smart Docs, which helps to eliminate data entry from those outside parties and the need for data entry by the housing agency staff. And that works in between kind of the ProLinkHFA and Procorum tools as well. And for just our final overview slide here, this is just a picture of the core modules that are included in ProLinkHFA. The insurance functionality that we're going to be covering today is included also kind of within these modules, and Jim will show you that. But the main pieces from a development, kind of a deal life cycle perspective, is our multifamily development and bond financing module, our asset management and compliance module, and then we have a single family development module as well. So those three pieces kind of make up our core modular picture of ProLinkHFA. There's a number of features like insurance that we also have at our disposal in ProLinkHFA. This webinar series has historically gone over many different topics over the last few years that we've been hosting this. And next year, we will be changing a little bit about how we host these webinars. We're going to be more specific about whether we're going to be concentrating on kind of more technical topics like you saw last month with, we went over more compliance topics with Sarah, and it got pretty technical in that last session with her from our professional services and training team. And then we go through topics like this where we might be highlighting and demoing pieces of functionality that we would like to see our clients use or be more aware of, or those kinds of things, new releases that we're coming out with. So we are going to be more specific about what those topics are in advance, and differentiating those things, because there's different audiences who are attending these webinars. We have quite a few clients and daily users. We also have interested people who are not using ProLinkHFA coming into these sessions. So again, I just appreciate you being here. Thank you for taking the time to join us today. I'm going to hand it over to Jim, and then I will see you at the end to wrap up and talk about next month and kind of going into the new year for this webinar series. Jim, I'll let you take over.
All right, sounds good. Appreciate that, Bree. Everybody's joining. I appreciate you joining again. Excited to present for everybody again this month. I think we have one slide where it kind of goes through what I'm gonna, like a summary of what I'm gonna show today. If you want to move forward here, Sam. So I'm gonna be.
Hey, Bree, could you advance it?
Yeah. So today I'm going to be going over how do I set up carriers and brokers as entities in the system. There's a couple unique things that you can do specifically on the carrier side in terms of data points, and then like tying these policies to specific carriers and brokers for tracking at the property as well as portfolio-wide level. There's an import tool that we have for carrier ratings. So if you have a subscription to the website we went to get like our demo data, was we pulled the information from a website called AM Best that has kind of a listing of carrier ratings that you can export into CSV. We have an import utility for that. So if you have any, if you have a subscription to any kind of database that keeps track of carrier ratings, you can import that data into ProLinkHFA to track that at the entity level for those carriers. And then we have policy and policy information definitions and policy coverage definitions that you can set up within the system as well. And then being able to track those policies, those policy terms and dates, both at the specific portfolio property level within a property, but also at a kind of portfolio-wide perspective. We have a couple things like there's a calendar tool to track expiration dates, and then we have a few data views that can show you summaries on like premiums, coverages, terms, etc. And then you know, finally here, I'm going to show you how this can all tie into the loans and escrows functionality within portfolio property and ProLinkHFA. So not only can you create all of these insurance policies and all the details associated with them, along with carriers and their information at the entity level, but you can actually kind of tie those policies back to escrow disbursements within the loans and escrows part of the portfolio property module here in ProLinkHFA. And then there's some data views you can use from like an accounting perspective to track all of those as well. That'll show you at the end. I'm going to get into it here. I'm going to share my screen. Let's see. Place current share. Screen 2. Oh. All right. So here I'm in entities data view right now because I'm going to be creating a new carrier entity. And you can access the ability to create a new entity both from the entities data view and from the entities screen within a portfolio property or a deal in ProLinkHFA. There's like different areas of the system where you can access this new button for creating a new entity. And one of them's in the data view. But if you're in a property, right, if you're working on a specific property and you need to add an entity from there, you do have the ability to do that too if you go to the entities page within a portfolio property. I'm going to go here. I'm going to click new. I'm going to say this is a company because this is going to be an insurance company. I can make an individual record later if there's like a person at the carrier that I want to keep contact information for, and then I would kind of tie them together using associations. So I'm going to say, let's say, all right, I'll make the company here, and then if I want later on, I can make myself as an entity here and kind of associate the two. And I'm not sure if you guys are familiar with base entity types. If you're not, these base entity types, one, can help you kind of manipulate the data views when you're kind of trying to run entity data views by kind of just using this as a piece of data to help you kind of like sort and filter. Hey, I'm looking for accountants, I'm looking for developers, etc. But also some of these base entity types, once you select a certain type, special fields show up at the bottom that are like data types that would be pertinent to that base entity type. So I'm going to go ahead. I'm going to click, where would it be? Carrier, insurance carrier. There we go. And once I click insurance carrier, here I'll unselect it and show you. It ends with certifications and notes. But once I add insurance carrier as an entity type, these special fields show up for rating information. So I got rating effective date, rating size, the actual financial rating here, and then rating status and rating ID. And then there's this business entity certification. And then for broker, I think there's special fields on broker. No, there's not. There's not. So those go away. But for the carrier, once I select carrier, then I have rating data points that now I can keep track of. I can enter them manually here. So if I know the rating of the specific carrier when I'm creating this entity, I can enter that right now. But you do also have the option to use a special import utility we have to update those carrier ratings kind of across all of the carrier entities you have within the system. So I'm going to create Jim Paris Insurance Company just to kind of finalize this. So now let's say, I've made a bunch of carriers, right? There's a bunch of carriers that, I've created, because there are policies that that are related to these carriers, that I have in the system, or policies that I'm going to put in the system. I have this utility here. Let's say I do have a subscription to something like AM Best or another database that provides me data on carriers that I can export into CSV format. You can use this carrier rating import utility to kind of pull all that data in. So I have this CSV file that I pulled. It's got all these insurance companies, their ratings, rating effective dates, rating sizes, states as well. And if I go here and I choose file and I select that file and I click import, what that's going to do is it's going to pull in all the ratings for carriers that you currently have in the system. It's not going to import all of the carriers in that file if they don't exist in ProLinkHFA. So what you would have to do is you would have to make sure that the carriers are created as entities first, and then this file will update the ratings for the carriers that you have existing in the system today. It's not going to create all 1,000 that I had in that file. It's going to update the ones that I have in the system. So you can see I don't have very many carriers in my demo system. I do have a couple, so it updated 2 records. And it's going to show you that when you import it. Next thing I'm going to cover here is setting up my policy. So I can set up a master policy using another utility in here. So I create the policy in this utility, and then all that gets created here. And then what happens at the portfolio property level is I would apply that policy after I've created it here, and I would apply it to their portfolio property later on in the portfolio property. And that's something I'll cover a little bit later once I get into kind of how to track these things from the perspective of a single property. So I'm going to create a new insurance policy and just kind of walk you through what that looks like, what data I can put in there. Let's say I'm going to 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Let's do save. Actually, let me can't. All right. Forgot to add the carrier when I created it, but I can still create it. I can still add it now. Do national insurance company. So it'll search the system for any carrier entities that you've created. I'll go ahead and add selected. I'll hit save. And I believe that doesn't autofill any information on this screen. And then I can start adding coverages. So I'll put property, loss of rents, earthquake, professional liability. And then what I can do is I can add like layers here. So let's say earthquake is layer 2. And then I have like a primary and aggregate, say 100,000 and 500,000. And then let's do something here on the property and loss of rents. Make these both layer 1. $500,000 and $1 million. Let's do 100,000. And 300,000. Add selected and close. And now I have my default coverages added here in the system. And then I can add a term here. So the policy term is what usually ties us to the broker, because of course when you're purchasing or renewing a policy, it goes through that broker. So the broker is tracked at the term level. I'll add a term here. It's going to ask me to find the broker. I click Alliance Insurance Brokers. Say my effective date is going to be, let's do like 2025 to 2026. When I save this, I believe I have a contact tied to Alliance Insurance Brokers. I do, yeah. So I can collect, if there's like contacts within this entity company. I was talking about that before. When you create an entity, it can be a company or a person. So my broker is of course going to be a company. That's the broker. And then I can have one or multiple contacts like under that company, the way I set up entities. And then I can say, okay, Jim Mason was the actual person who, sold me this policy at Alliance Insurance Brokers. And then that'll give you the ability later on to, one, if you're within a portfolio property, you can figure out, okay, who do I need to contact about this policy? And then two, you can track it at like the data views level later on too, to figure out if you're looking at all the policies across the portfolio, you can figure out who to contact. And I'm going to save this, and you'll notice I've got these two other tabs here. I got properties and escrow disbursements. This is a new policy. I've not applied it to any properties yet. And of course, that would mean I have not dispersed any escrow funds related to that yet either. But now I'm going to go into an actual portfolio property here and show you kind of how you can tie this policy once you've created it to a property or properties. All right, so here I'm in my portfolio property data view. This might be familiar to some of you guys, this module and these tabs. So down the tab a little bit, it's before asset management activities, but it's after kind of like my, locations, buildings, units information is property insurance. So what I can do here is I can apply, I can now apply the policy using create a new policy. And I can look at, just different years depending on, what I want to look at, right? So if I don't care about past years, I can kind of filter this just to 2024 if I want. I'm going to click new. So what this is going to do is now I have this search button. You guys are probably familiar at this point. You saw this when I was adding carriers and adding brokers when I created the policy, this search button. It's going to let me, find this policy that I just created. And then what it's going to do is it should, so save this, pull in that information regarding that policy into these other fields. So there you go. I got, National Insurance Company. I filled all this out earlier in the utility, as you guys remember. national insurance company, you know, rating size is 4, rating is A plus, and the rating year is 2015. And then I have Jim Mason and his contact information here, as well as the coverages down here too. And then I do have a spot now. I can like start, now that it's within the property, I can start adding escrow disbursements and escrow deposit adjustments as well. There's custom fields here too. So, you know, I've filled out like, I mean, these are just examples of what you can add in here. You know, there's claims against this policy. I can add, you know, these boxes for it as well to help me keep track of that if I want to. And then these custom fields will show up and give you the ability to track whatever you put in here in data views later on too. So if you want to be detailed about how you like track claims, you can put in like claim numbers, claim amounts, even you can create as custom fields or UDFs. And then you can, on the back end, your accounting team can create some kind of data view that looks at escrow disbursements related to insurance policies. And then the claim numbers and claim types can be built into that data view as well if you create those UDFs here. So these are just examples, but really anything you want to keep track of can be made in a data view here within the insurance policy. Like claim numbers, claim amounts, claim dates. You can have like calendar dates as a UDF option, check boxes, pick lists, things like that can be added as UDFs too. Pretty dynamic. Just a little bit of background there for those of you who might not yet be familiar with UDFs or the full extent to which they can be used. So now that I have this policy in here, what I can start doing is I can start tracking like premiums and payments within my escrows. So under loans, you see escrows. So I'm going to go in here and you can see I have an account number here for insurance. And what I can do within my escrow screen here is I open up this account. It's going to show me like the balance history, deposit adjustments, disbursements, and stuff like that. I can add disbursements here, and then it'll show up under the insurance policy if I associate it to the insurance policy when I record the disbursement. So let's say I'm going to add a disbursement here. I'm going to associate it to that policy I just created. All right, so due date, say it's approved date. Let's say I approved it today. Just say it's $1,000. And I can like, yeah, so let's say the payee, you know, and then I can start entering things like bank account number if that exists under the entity, stuff like that. I'm going to go ahead and save this. And now it's going to say add policy at the bottom. So for this to show up under the policy record, so when I go back to the policy, for me to be able to see this disbursement under the policy too, not just under this escrow screen, I'm going to need to associate it to that policy. It's the one I just created. I believe it was this one. yeah, the 1/1/2025 to the 12/31/2025. Go ahead and save this. If I go back to that policy, it should show you where that policy is associated, or that this policy and the escrow disbursement are tied together, not only here on escrows, but when I go back to the policy too. Let's see here. Yeah, so the $1,000 escrow disbursement I just created over there is now associated with and shows up here on the insurance policy record as well. And then I have deposit adjustments too. So if I create a deposit adjustment, I can associate it. It's going to be the pretty similar process, tying that all together compared to what you just saw with the disbursements. See if that's it for. Yeah, so now I'm gonna go over to how you can look at this stuff from a portfolio wide perspective. Not that you have the data entered in here, right? If you have the coverages, the expiration dates, who the broker is, who the carrier is, what properties they're associated with, the premium payments, what escrow accounts are they associated with, stuff like that. Now you can start doing stuff within data views and some other tools that we have to look at things across your whole portfolio. First thing I'm going to show you is we have this utility. It's an insurance calendar. Helps you keep track of. This is basically really just for like expiration and renewal dates. I think all my policies in the system are basically like calendar year, beginning and end. So you can see now I have like on the 31st or the 1st, I have some policies expiring. So I just keep an eye on that using this calendar. I can open it up, every month and kind of look at the next month or the next quarter, what's coming up for expiration. And, if I want to do some due diligence on making sure those get renewed, I can do that using this calendar. Now here, I'm going to go to data views. So there's a couple data views that you can use. I think there's 4 that I'm going to show you today. But one is going to be under portfolio property, insurance term, coverages. Yeah, there we go. So here, this is like coverages in this data view. So I got like my carrier name, their rating, description of the coverage, expiration, code, policy number, property name, etc. I can go into View Manager. For those of you not familiar with data views, they're pretty highly dynamic in terms of what you want to put in that view. So this isn't just like the only thing that you can see when you click insurance policy term coverages. This is just like what I chose that I wanted to see in this view. And as you can see, you can set up more views within like each view type. So I can go to my View Manager. I can create a completely new view with new columns and filters, etc. Or I can kind of go to the one I'm looking at right now and edit it. So I have all of these data points that I can pull in. So I can pull in like the actual amounts of the coverages as well. So I want to pull in like the aggregate amounts, or just any kind of, if there's like a random data point, like the broker on it, or like assigned legal or assigned development officer, I can pull that in. I have more data on the carrier ratings that I can pull in here. Where the property is, how big the property is, total units, physical address, stuff like that. And if you did create like UDFs, they would show up as options for data points as well. It's a really important thing to remember about UDFs. They're not just there to be there. You can take advantage of them for this portfolio-wide view of things using data views. And you do have filters as well. So if I wanted to like filter out Like if I wanted to filter this just to like A+ carriers and show those policies, or if I wanted to filter out like just kind of bad ratings, so I could, let's say I just want to monitor those more closely if they're bad or average ratings. I can filter those out using this, or within the data view itself, I've got a filter grid on, so I can do kind of like a temporary filter. Let's say I don't want to like permanently make it part of the view, right? I can on the fly like sort and filter based off of expiration dates or carrier ratings or property name, stuff like that. Next one I'm going to highlight here is going to be terms and coverages. I think I accidentally clicked the back button. Sorry about that, but I will go back down to my data view. Yeah, portfolio property terms. So this would give me a view at things like who's my broker, effective date, expiration date. This is pretty similar to the last one. I think the last one is just a little bit more detailed on like the actual coverages. So like coverage amount and what it's covered under it. But this is more for like looking at, effective dates, who the broker is, stuff like that. Next one I have here is, okay, so I showed you how you can kind of like do the escrow disbursements, track those under loans and escrows, and then tie that escrow disbursement back to the specific policy. What you can do here is you can actually look at these escrow disbursements portfolio wide. You see a loan escrow account disbursement. This is something like maybe like your accounting team would want to run it. So now you can start seeing like the disbursement amounts, what it was related to, and who the like insurance company might have been. And then I have my entities data view. I kind of started on this, but there is a way you can kind of cut and slice this for insurance entities in specific. Yeah, my carriers and ratings. Now, again, in my demo system, I don't have this filled out with like, hundreds of carriers and brokers like an HFA environment, like an HFA client's environment would have. But this kind of just gives you a snapshot of like, hey, I can pull up a list of my carriers and their ratings just kind of from like a high level perspective in the data view for entities here. And a great thing, for those of you who aren't super familiar with ProLinkHFA, or maybe you kind of are, but you only use it for specific things based on just your role in the agency. This can really almost act like a contact management system using the entities functionality and these data views, because I can go to like, entities management agents, like something completely unrelated to insurance, but just so you can see, I can kind of use it to manage my, context, from a management agent perspective. Really, and then once you start combining it with like the sorting and filtering and customizing the columns functionality of data views, it can really be just a really dynamic contact management system for your agency, the entities functionality combined with data views. But I think we're running up on time. I think I'm going to hand it back to you, Bree. I'm going to give you 5 minutes here to close it out.
Okay, great. Thank you. Just getting back to my screen. You should see it now. Well, to wrap up today, thank you, Jim, very much for walking us through the insurance functionality. If you guys have any questions, I know there were a few of our clients who had specific needs around insurance and specific interest in joining today's webinar. So if we did not cover those, or if you have questions, please put them in the chat. We'll follow up with you. There's always a follow-up after these webinars that includes our Q&A, or reach out to us and we'll be happy to go over that with you separately. And to finish up today, I do have kind of an exciting announcement that is being announced for the first time today. First of a few announcements coming up for ProLink for an Nspire inspection app. So we have been doing a lot of work over the last 6 months or so since our in-person user group conference that we had in April to prioritize ProLink's roadmap for new features. And we've really spent a lot of time with our existing clients on getting their feedback and prioritizing many things that we want to build into ProLink. One of those top leaders from client feedback and also things that we have been looking at as a company is creating an inspection app that is mobile and tablet friendly for in the field use. With Nspire now coming up for next October for multifamily LIHTC programs, for that, because of that new standard quickly approaching us, we feel like now's the time, and we have begun to build this app. So this is an enhancement that ProLink is building, and we're planning to offer it out to our agencies coming up in the new year. So basically January will be our initial launch of this app. And ahead of then, we are going to be sharing kind of some sneak peek opportunities, starting with our next webinar, which is in October on the 9th at 3 p.m. Eastern time. We are going to share what we call a preview document that's going to cover kind of the key features that will be designed into this app, and preview kind of what inspectors can look forward to, what their experience will be. And then we'll talk more about product launch details, including how to sign up for continuous updates related to this new tool that we're going to be launching in the early part of next year. So we're very excited about this. It's taken a lot of time and research from our team and working with our clients to come to the conclusion to build this tool. And we feel very confident in what we were going to provide to the market because of all of the infrastructure that we've already built around Nspire into our database system, ProLinkHFA. So many of you know Nspire is already fully supported. All the reporting and tracking for Nspire is fully built out into ProLinkHFA already, which is what we kind of spent the last 2 years doing. And so providing now an inspection app for inspectors to use in the field is kind of the cherry on top of that service that we get to offer. So looking forward to that. If you have any questions for me or you'd like more information, please reach out directly or contact me if you're an existing client through your MBR. We'll be talking about this. Otherwise, please join us, sign up for the webinar on Wednesday, October 9th at 3 p.m. Eastern, and we'll be talking more about it. So thank you very much for your time, and we'll see you on the next one.